All right, Merry Christmas and Happy Festivus. So we're back here on the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 125, and one of the last episodes of the year. Looking ahead, we'll be doing one next week. Might record that the 30th since New Year's Eve is the 31st. We'll see if I actually put one out on New Year's Eve. And then probably next episode after that, probably episode 127, will be the Sort of Sporties, which you guys know is my favorite episode to record every year, even though we're mostly a sports podcast. I say we as if it's not just me recording this, but I do produce, edit, and record. I mean, unless I have a guest on, it's just me. But even though we're mostly a sports podcast, doing that pod is my favorite of the year, doing all the movie stuff. I really enjoy sitting there pondering what I'm going to put in the Hall of Fame, what I'm not going to put in the Hall of Fame. It's just very fun to me. And does it really matter that much to anybody else? Not really, but to me, it matters a lot. And it looks like, I was just saying, we might have a chance to have 50 episodes within the span of last Sort of Sporties and this Sort of Sporties. I don't think it's the way it's going to line up. It looks like, because last year's Sort of Sporties is episode 79, looks like this year's Sort of Sporties is most likely going to be episode 127. That's still a lot. That's 48 episodes in between. So I usually kind of see the Sort of Sporties as the year end. So 48 episodes in between is a lot. That means I recorded almost once a week in 2024. Now, granted, you'll have stretches where I recorded 2 or 3 times in a week, and then you'll have stretches where I didn't do anything. So that's part of it. But yeah, it's been a big year for the pod. Really enjoyed doing it. We officially made Bryce Young all the stuff a couple weeks back, which is especially a big deal because that might not change forever. But anyways, let's get into the show. Very excited for the Festivus and Merry Christmas episode of the Sort of Sports Podcast. So let's start off with the NFL. Josh Allen has apparently been playing the entire season with a broken left hand. It's just one of those where we already thought he was MVP. I feel like that was kind of the consensus. And then now this just really adds to it, doesn't it? Really, really adds to it. So props to Josh Allen. Dude got down on one knee and proposed with a bad left hand. That takes real guts. So props to Josh Allen. The C.J. Stroud Tank Dell thing, that's really sad. I don't know if everybody saw that, but C.J. Stroud was very upset and crying. Tank Dell suffered a really bad injury in that game Saturday, and it was pretty upsetting because it looked really rough. And apparently, I don't know if everybody knows this. I knew about this just because I've seen C.J. Stroud talk about it, that he really likes Tank Dell. That's like his best friend. And you could really see that in the way he reacted to when he got hurt. And that was real. That was really upsetting. And so I really hope Tank Dell is able to recover from this. But that was just a really sad moment. And yeah, that was just rough. I really felt for C.J. Stroud on that. And watching your best friend get injured like that could not be fun. And so that was upsetting. Now this Texans team, it's been a disappointing season, I'd say, for them. But, like, if last year didn't exist, the expectations would have been as high. Like, we just had really high expectations for them. I don't think I'm the only person that thought that. Still a really good team. It's just, like, I feel like no one talks about the Texans. Like, there's, like, zero Texans chatter. Like, no one thinks they're going to go that far. But no one's like, oh, they're fraudulent. Like, they're just kind of whatever. That's really sucks because it really looked like we were going to have something special here. And I think there really could be. Like, maybe it's just next year is when that happens. Next year is the year it clicks and they become a Super Bowl contender. But I don't think anyone's taking this team to win the Super Bowl. I think people are more juiced about, like, the Vikings in this team. They're more juiced about the Packers in this team. And I hear more chatter about the Rams. Not about, like, the Rams going to the Super Bowl, but just in general, like, people aren't talking about this Texans team. And over the offseason, they were probably the most talked about team other than the Lions. Like, there was so much Texans buzz. And so it's really just been sad, and the Tank Dell thing was sad, and it's just rough. I don't know. It's just Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been, yeah. All right. I guess for the future, it's just maybe next year becomes something. But like, I'd be shocked if this Texans team wins a playoff game. Like, let's say they end up playing like the Steelers or the Ravens in the playoffs. I'm probably going to take the Steelers or Ravens. There's just zero buzz. I'd love to see him turn around the playoffs. I really would. I just don't really see that at the moment. And that sucks. That really sucks for a team that just had so much hype around them. It's sad. But hopefully next year they can get things back on track. Bryce played an absolute great game. Hell, the Texans have a Christmas Day game. Like, they're a big damn deal. But just everybody kind of doesn't care now. It's like the commies are kind of like the new hip team. I guess everybody's like, oh, this is fun. You know? I don't know. I think it's just been kind of sad. I really hope they can get it back on track next year. I think C.J. Stroud's really good, but like last few weeks, Bryce Young's dead ass outplayed him. Bryce Young was the highest rated quarterback by PFF for last week. Like, I never would have thought that happened. I mean, if you had told me, hey, Bryce has proven himself he's good, I'd be like, yeah, but CJ's still better, and that's fine. I can accept that. And last couple weeks on paper, Bryce has been better. Just nuts. Now, do I really think in my heart that Bryce Young's better than CJ Stroud? No, I don't. If you took both those guys, put them on the same team, CJ's probably better. But the fact that Bryce has been making it a conversation is crazy. And you're like, oh, well, you're a Panther fan. Don't you want that? Of course I'd want Bryce Young to be the best. I'd love for Bryce Young to become the best quarterback in the NFL and win MVPs. That would be awesome. But I'm also not really rooting for CJ Stroud's downfall. So, I mean, part of it, Bryce has been playing really well. Don't get me wrong. But I am saying part of it is the fact that CJ hasn't played anywhere near as well as he did last year. And that's, I think, a sophomore slump. I think it's normal. But I think a lot of us overlooked that could happen. And everybody just kind of assumed that wouldn't happen, that this Texans team would click instantly, and C.J. Stroud was just going to be that next huge thing. And I hope he can still be that. It's going to be really sad if we all got all excited about that, and then C.J. Stroud's just pretty good. You know? I just hope he's really good. Now, Bryce, for what it's worth, guys, you know I'm very proud of Bryce. I mean, my next thing I wanted to talk about was that Bryce played a great game. He played excellently against Cardinals. It's the Bryce Young I love. He was making passes that made me go, like I was sitting down, I was sitting down doing that, jumping up out of my chair. When he dropped that one to David Moore, left side of the field, right in the pocket, beautiful dime for the touchdown. Bryce scrambled in the end zone for a touchdown. Like, Bryce is just playing excellent. I think next year I'm just going to make him my fantasy quarterback. I love watching him. He's so much fun. Not only is he good, he's also fun to watch, which is hard because there are some teams of franchise quarterbacks that aren't fun to watch. That's just a reality. Looking at you, Tua Tagovailoa. But I don't know why I randomly called out. Tua has been fun to watch because of his receivers. But, like, he's just not as dynamic. Like, Bryce Young is way more dynamic than Tua. Bryce is fun to watch that way. Yeah, Bryce been really good. Really been enjoying watching him. I'm really happy that he is our franchise guy. I talked all that smack on him at the beginning of the year, and I'm so glad I was wrong because I'm so happy for him, and I'm so glad he's developed like this. And he's really fun. He's just a fun quarterback to root for. He really is. So this is going to be a big game for Russell Wilson coming into this week against the Chiefs. He didn't play that well last week against the Ravens. Really didn't. And everybody was going for the narrative of, oh, Steelers own Lamar. He's only beat them one time. And then the defense kind of won in that game. A defense for the Ravens that hasn't been the best all year. And there were some big defensive plays for them down the stretch. They got that big interception to kind of seal the game. And that was kind of on Russ, for being honest. I thought Russ had been playing really well for the Steelers. He was part of the reason I was like, oh, this team's interesting. This team could be frisky. But he didn't play well at all against the Ravens. And I know this Chiefs defense is better than the Ravens, but maybe Russ can take that step up and cook against the Chiefs. You guys are going to see it when I do Christmas Day picks. I'm going to take the Steelers team, and I'm expecting a big game from Russ. And to me, if they beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day, that confirms to me this Steelers team can win a playoff game. If they lose, I will not be taking them to win a playoff game. That's my rule. Even if it's a close game, that's going to be my rule. If the Steelers win this week, I will believe in them winning a playoff game. If they do not win this week, I will not believe in them winning a playoff game. I'm making that rule. It's the official Ryan Klinger rule on this one. The Rooneys have their own rule. Well, now there's a Ryan Klinger rule. Oddly enough, it's the Steelers. There we go. The Bengals could still make the playoffs. This is one of the wildest stories. Everybody, including Ocho Cinco, thought the season was over, and now it's potentially going to come back. If the Broncos lose their next two and the Bengals lose their next two, win their next two, they're in. And I think everybody would prefer to see the Bengals make it over the Broncos, other than Broncos fans. Maybe there's people that really like this Broncos team, but to me, I don't see this Broncos team winning a playoff game. It's very defensively driven. Props to Sean Payton. Bo Nix, you've been good at what you're doing. I'm not a huge Bo Nix guy. To me, he reminds me a lot of Jameis. And I'm really glad Jayden Daniels locked up Rookie of the Year this week with the win over the Eagles. I understand that Kenny Pickett was playing starting quarterback the majority of that game. Believe me, I just lost a fantasy championship because of that. I'm in a dynasty league. We set it up years ago before the 17-game season, and so we kept the playoff format where week 16 is the championship and not week 17. And I was fine with that. Like, none of us were like, that's fine. It's not a big deal. We don't need to go in and change it. And now, granted, I would have lost the semifinals last week with Hurts getting hurt, but I was in the championship, and I have Hurts in this dynasty league, and obviously him getting hurt, he put up 4 points, 4.96 what it was, and that was rough. I also had Jonathan Taylor on my bench. Jonathan Taylor just hasn't been consistent enough for me. So I started Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, and Aaron Jones over him, and that was a mistake. But the thing is that Eagles' defense is very good, and on paper at least. When I watch them, I'm not as impressed as I am when you look at their numbers. But Darius Slay's obviously good, even though he's old for a corner. Not old in general. I mean, goodness now. None of these NFL guys are old in general. Really just maybe Aaron Rodgers is the only one. But Jayden Daniels did drive them down the field, get a big win. All the Eagles fans were being pissy about it. That made it more fun. I would love for this to somehow be a playoff matchup. It could happen. If it is, that would be awesome, and I probably would take the Commies. They're a fun, good vibes team. They're not the best. I think next year they'll be really interesting depending on how they do this offseason. We'll have to see if Jayden Daniels has a sophomore slump. I don't want to overhype him too much because we just talked about that Texans team, how we did that. And that's what a lot of this Commanders team reminds me of. C.J. Stroud as a rookie was better than Jayden Daniels as a rookie for what it's worth. But Jayden Daniels did just kind of lock up Rookie of the Year, and props to him. What are the Vikings really going to do this offseason? They could potentially be the number one seed. Maybe the least, I don't know how to, I don't want to use the word fraudulent because they clearly have won these games. They're very well coached. And Kevin O'Connell should probably be coach of the year at this point. If they end up being the number one seed, he should be coach of the year. And you guys know I've absolutely loved Brian Flores for years. I've always been big on Brian Flores. Wanted him to come coach for the Panthers when he left the Dolphins. And being a fan of Brian Flores has come to roost because he has been a very, very good defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. And they're kind of an odd spot because I think J.J. McCarthy's going to be really good for this team next year. I said that when he got drafted. I was really excited about the possibility of him being the starter for them in the future. Thought he could pop into this system and run the offense really well. And that's why I think Sam Darnold's doing well. I think they run a nice system offense. J.J. McCarthy will be able to run like a well-oiled machine, and they will be a contender perennially. And it'll be a really fun team. Kind of like the Lions is kind of what they would remind me of, right? But you can't deny the fact that they have one of the best records in the league with Sam Darnold. Like, you can. He's obviously played well for them. I think it would be wrong to go into this offseason and ship off J.J. McCarthy. That'd be stupid. I also must admit, I want to see J.J. be the starter next year. But it maybe would not be wise to get rid of Sam Darnold and start J.J. because Sam Darnold has clearly done well. So it's like, are you going to sit J.J. behind Darnold for another year, see how Darnold plays, and then if it doesn't work out, you put J.J. in? I just think with such a system offense like this, you don't really know how much better J.J. is until you kind of let him run it for a bit, and then you see Darnold's like, who can run the system better? Because it's not like Darnold's Lamar Jackson. You get what I mean? Like we know he's just kind of running the system out there, but he is obviously playing well. I think JJ would do even better in the system, but I'm also a big JJ McCarthy guy. The argument would be if you ship off Darnold now, he's at his highest value. You could get Darnold to a team like, I don't know, maybe would the Cowboys take Darnold? I don't know how long Dak's out. I'm assuming Dak will be back by next year. Like would the Titans take Darnold? Would the Jets take back Darnold, right? Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, would those teams, if you're not the Raiders or the Giants, you're probably not thinking what quarterback you're going to draft in this draft is going to be your starter. Because I think everyone's kind of come to the consensus of what I thought earlier this fall, which is like Cam Ward and Shador are really the only two guys who can be starters off rip. Maybe ever, we'll have to see. But to me, it's Cam Ward and Shador, like the two guys that could be starters, and it seems like the Giants and Raiders will go for that. So just kind of interesting stuff. I don't know what exactly the Vikings are going to do. What I would like to see them do is have JJ be the starter next year. Have like a quarterback battle in the summer. Hopefully JJ proves himself like I think he will. Give JJ the spot, have Darnold be the backup. Or what you can do is trade Darnold, but I probably think that doesn't make the most sense at the moment because there is the argument of maybe he is better than JJ, and I don't think he will be, but I don't really know if it makes sense. You have won, like, what, are they 13 games? Aren't they 13-2? Yeah. That's what I thought. It was like 13-2 because I was gonna say 14-2. I knew they only had 2 losses. They're 13-2. Like that's absurd. It's absurd. Just insane. That Lions-Vikings game, Sunday, January 5th, might be 14-2 versus 14-2. Winner is the number 1 seed in the NFC. Loser is the number 5 seed. If so, that needs to be Monday night. I would love for it to be Sunday night. I think Sunday night is much better than Monday Night Football, but it's more fun if it's Monday Night Football because then it's the last game of the year. That would just be sweet. Granted, Sunday Night Football crew is better. Presentation is better. Sunday night would also be grand. But it would make whatever the Monday night game is feel completely pointless because it'd be like, oh, this game, isn't it? It's nowhere near the stakes of Lions-Vikings. All right, let's move on from this. The Cowboys, for some reason, won't die. Like, they might win this week, too. And I just, like, they're playing the Eagles. And my part of me's like, maybe they can get it done. Like, I don't know. They're eliminated from the playoffs. It's just funny to me. I don't really know. I don't know why this is. They just won't die. A quick thing. This isn't NFL related, but we're going to get into Festivus activities here in a second. I just got to say, college football playoff. Obviously, I went 1 for 4 on my picks. Went really crazy ballsy, and probably shouldn't have done that. But I warned you guys when I started the episode. I got a little wild on that pod. But the thing I wanted to say was, first of all, really happy with the new format. I would like to restate. I would like for the bowl games to be semifinals only. I think it would be fun to have the second round also be at the home stadiums. Like we would have Ohio State visiting Oregon for this game that's upcoming. That would be really cool. But I do like the fact that the majority of these games we're going to see are on New Year's Day. Like making New Year's Day the second round of the playoffs, pretty sweet move. Like it's pretty gas. I gotta admit, like that's pretty awesome. So that would be really fun. That'll be a really fun thing. So if the reasoning behind making these bowl games is so they can be the New Year's Day bowl, okay, I see the vision. That's pretty sweet. And there was like controversy about the teams that made it. I really was happy with the 12 teams they chose. I really was. And here the big thing I wanted to say is I actually think there's a path for OSU. The Ohio State team that played against Tennessee was the best I've seen them play all year. I haven't watched a ton of them, I must admit. You guys know I'm a bit of an Ohio State football hater. But that's the best I've seen them play all year. They seem like they really found something defensively. Offensively, that's the best I've seen Will Howard play out of the 3 games I've watched of him, which is Indiana, Michigan, and that game. Going into this game against Oregon, my thought process is it's really hard to beat a team twice in sports. In any sport, for what it's worth. Like basketball, same way. It's hard to beat a team twice. Football, it's especially hard. And you notice that a lot in the NFL. A lot of teams split. You got to be significantly better to beat a team twice in a row. And so it's going to be really interesting that Ohio State is playing Oregon once again. And I was thinking about interesting national championship matchups. I must admit, Ohio State-Notre Dame might be the most interesting matchup left. Not left, just in general, I guess. Like from off rip. Like if you said best national championship matchups, for me, in my opinion, I think it's Oregon-Boise State because it's the Genty Heisman thing versus the top team. Both teams that are in the upper west, like the northwestern part of the U.S., Idaho versus Oregon. That's fun. And then Ohio State-Notre Dame. They already have a bit of a rivalry. You had the whole Ryan Day. I want to know where Lou Holtz is right now. That was weird last season. It's kind of become like a mini rivalry. 2 fan bases that are completely delusional. Indiana versus Ohio. Really fun, like the state of Indiana versus a school from obviously the state of Ohio. Really fun matchup there. 2 brands in college football that both think they're a lot better than they are. Like they haven't really been as great as they think they are in a little while. And that would be a really fun national championship. It's also just really funny to me if Ohio State wins the national championship after everybody wanted their head coach fired. And then they're kind of stuck because you're not going to get rid of Day, after you won a national championship. So then he gets like a 2 to 3 year grace period. But if Michigan beats them for those 2 to 3 years, and like the thought process is he can't beat Michigan, but he won us a national championship, it'll just be so funny. And I don't know. I guess I just want to see chaos, honestly. It's like in The Dark Knight when he's like, some men just want to see the world burn. When it comes to Ohio State fans, to me, I think this is the most fun year from the national championship because I think their own fans wouldn't even know how to react. They would be like half pissed that they won the national championship because they'd be like, no, now we have to keep Ryan Day. And I don't even think Ryan Day's that bad of a coach. I really don't. And I just think it's very dumb. So, yeah, I honestly think there's a path for them to win the national championship. You look at the bottom side of that bracket. They're going to have to play the winner of Texas, Arizona State. I think they're better than both of those teams. I think Oregon will beat either of those teams too. So I would love to see Ohio State be in the national championship this year. I hope it's against Indiana. Penn State's pretty fun, but sorry, not against Indiana. I meant to say Notre Dame. I hope it's against Notre Dame. Penn State is pretty fun, must admit. Drew Allar being from Medina, Ohio is really fun, but Notre Dame, to me, is the most fun outcome. That would be pretty sweet. And I think Notre Dame can beat Georgia, so that'll be fun. I just want to do that really quickly. Let's get into the Happy Festivus. It's a Festivus for the rest of us. Happy Festivus to everybody. I did my yearly tradition last night of watching the Festivus episode. I performed some feats of strength. Saw how many push-ups I can do in a row. I will not relay the number to all of you because I don't want to embarrass anyone. Not me. I mean you, because I'm sure the number I put, you would just be blown away. And you'd be like, wow, I can't do that many. Because it was at least double digits. I know. Talked to Quinn yesterday. Obviously Quinn Maseko from Big Salad fame. He's probably going to come on one of the episodes in the future. We're thinking about maybe March Madness, bringing him on, something like that. Never done a pod over Zoom. Might have to try that out and bring Q on for that. So that'd be fun. We'll be doing a bit of a Big Salad reconnection, right? In the future. But he was also celebrating Festivus. We were both wearing our Festivus shirts that had Frank Costanza on them. So that was fun. But in honor of Festivus, donation to everyone who listened to this podcast will be made in their name to the Human Fund. But I'm going to air some grievances also. And honestly, I made up this section, and I could really only think of one. And I guess I'm just in a really good mood. Christmas is tomorrow. Today's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. I'm happy. I'm still riding high off the Superman trailer. We're going to talk about Nolan's new movie at the end here because I'm absolutely amped about that. So I don't have that many grievances to air. I mean, I'm pretty upset about the fact they made the new Indiana Jones game require ray tracing on PC because that was kind of the Christmas gift I was most excited for, was to buy myself Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for my PC, and now I have to wait till the spring to get it on my PlayStation 5 because it requires ray tracing, but whatever. I'd kind of let that go, kind of. But really, my only grievance I wanted to air was there's all this discourse about how the NBA's ratings are down, what they're doing wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And while there's many, many factors, I do want to point out the NBA's 8 p.m. slot on Christmas Day, willing to bet would be their most watched matchup every year on Christmas Day. And the matchup that usually is their most premier teams. Years ago, that was the Cavs versus Warriors spot on the 2017 Christmas Day game where Kyrie hit the game winner. That game was awesome. That was back when they wore the great Christmas Day uniforms. That slot is Warriors versus Lakers. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a great matchup. Curry versus LeBron. You are right. That is pretty fun. I might even watch some of that. The problem is that shows you the exact issue with the NBA. We're still using Curry versus LeBron as our marketing piece in 2024. 9 years. 9 years after their first finals appearance. Technically, we're going into the 2025 season. Going into the 2015 season was when they played each other in the finals, the 2015 NBA Finals. So we're basically 10 years of basketball because it'll be 10 years in June, which is this season. So this NBA Finals will mark 10 years since the first time they played against each other in the finals. That's absurd. And neither of the teams they're on at the moment are the best in the league. Why isn't Jokic the 8 p.m.? Right? Why didn't we do Jokic Giannis? Because that's not who the NBA chooses to market. They haven't figured out who and how to market this current set of stars, and they're relying on these older stars. And maybe part of it, the stars themselves. I love Nikola Jokic. He doesn't click with a lot of the general audience. He just doesn't. So maybe that's part of it. But I do think that's a big issue for the NBA. They gave Wemby a Christmas Day game. That's great. It's really good. But the 8 p.m. slot being Curry LeBron at this stage, I am happy with it. The general public is happy with it. Don't get me wrong. That'll probably be their most watched game. And obviously, part of the issue is that Roger Goodell has decided, screw you NFL, screw you NBA. Look at me, I'm already confusing them because the NFL is so much bigger. The NFL is so much bigger and so much more popular than you that I will come into the day that is your day and has always been your day, and I will body you with this Netflix NFL. I'm not even going to put it on cable. I'm going to put it on Netflix. People got to open a separate app for this, and I'm going to get higher ratings than you, and they probably will. They probably will. The NFL's been slowly sneaking more into the Christmas time and making that another piece of the NFL broadcasting schedule. I must admit, I'm going to watch more NFL this week than I watch NBA. I am. America loves football. And the NBA is not going to surpass the NFL. They're not. But in order to keep the fans they have happy and to grow their fan base, I don't think Curry versus LeBron at 8 p.m. is the best idea. I want to restate. I am most probably interested in that game, but I'm part of the problem, right? I love some other stars, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the NBA is best at marketing Curry and LeBron, and they need to find a new place to market. And I will say part of the issue, I get, they put a lot of stock into Zion. He didn't pan out for obvious reasons. They put a lot of stock into John Morant. Obvious reasons they pulled back from that. So I will say I understand that. Maybe we abandoned the John Morant thing too quickly. I'm being serious. I mean, he clearly has it. But I understand that was obviously problematic with all the John Morant stuff. So that's a whole can of worms. I mean, I see when that happened with him flashing the gun on IG Live and all that, I was like, this is not good. We need to pivot away. But in the same sense, there was a reason everybody was drawn to Ja. Like, there was clearly something about him. And I love Anthony Edwards, but his team at the moment is not performing well enough for them to be the team. They're just not. So, yeah. That's my grievance, is that I think if the NBA wants to find new stars, relying on these old ones isn't going to lead to it. It just isn't. Hopefully that all made sense. We're moving on from Festivus and moving into Christmas. Merry Christmas. In honor of Christmas, I hope you have a great Christmas. Today's Christmas Eve. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas day and just Christmas season. Let's do what each team eliminated from the playoffs once for Christmas. So for the Panthers, this is all the teams that have been mathematically eliminated. So the Bengals are not here. Bengals are technically not eliminated yet. Here we go. For the Panthers, they want an edge rusher. That's what we need. I understand it'd be great to have a wide receiver. It'd be really fun if we went and got T. Higgins this offseason. Well, let's be honest. We need an edge rusher. Abdul Carter would be sweet from Penn State. Maybe he's the next Micah Parsons. That'd be fun. Panthers, they're wishing Santa Claus fits an edge rusher down the chimney. I don't know if he'll fit. Those guys are usually built like brick shit houses, but hopefully Santa can fit one down. Patriots, what they're asking for Santa for? Any sort of receiver. Just somebody for Drake May to throw to. Drake May is so damn good, and I love watching him. And some people are saying he's the best rookie quarterback, and honestly, they might be right. I think Jay Daniels is very good, but he has A, better coaching, and B, a better team than Drake May, and Drake May still amazes me. But those guys are easily the top two. Raiders, what they're wishing Santa can bring them? A franchise quarterback. I think they're going to get it in the draft. They're probably going to get Shador. I think Cam Ward will be the Giants guy. Maybe it flips. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see. There's always some guy that randomly at draft time becomes the hot pick. We saw it with Will Levis. That was false. Didn't actually happen. But before that, we saw it with Zach Wilson and Trey Lance, kind of both of them in that draft. We saw it with Anthony Richardson. There's talks Anthony Richardson. Like, are the Panthers going to take him number one? And then last year in the draft, it was like all of a sudden Jaden Daniels. Like, Jaden Daniels was not like, it was like, yeah, he's Heisman, but like Caleb will be the one, Drake's probably two, and then three, we'll see. We'll see what the Patriots like. Maybe it's Jaden Daniels. Maybe it's JJ. Like, it was interesting. And then it was Jaden Daniels. Like, Jaden Daniels became like the guy. I just thought that was interesting. Clearly, it was the right pick. I mean, Caleb Williams is good too, for what it's worth, out of the rookie quarterbacks. Like, it's been a pretty good quarterback draft. Like, I don't think Bo Nix is bad. He's just not that great, but I put Caleb 3 at the moment. I think JJ might be on his level, though. Not like just talent-wise. I think JJ is going to fit in the Vikings well. I mean, talent-wise, Caleb's probably above JJ, but JJ is going to have better coaching and a better team off rip. So, anyways, Raiders, they want a franchise QB. We'll see if Carson Beck randomly gets hyped up draft time, or Jalen Milroe or somebody. Dylan Gabriel, I don't know. Jaguars, what are they asking Santa for? Someone to fully unlock Trevor Lawrence. Which coach is going to come in here and show us that Trevor Lawrence is still that guy we watched in college? Who's going to do that for us? What coach is going to come do that? I'm trying to think of, I think Vrabel's obviously the hot topic coach this offseason. Now that Belichick's taken out of the mix, it's Vrabel. But I think Vrabel will probably end up going to the Raiders. It just makes the connection with Brady, I don't know who the Jaguars could get. Probably some hot number OC. If I'm Ben Johnson, though, I am not leaving the Lions. I just not. Maybe if they win the Super Bowl, I think about it. But to me, it's like, hey, we'll just try to repeat. Why would I leave? I don't know. Cardinals, what are they asking Santa for Christmas? He's asking them. There's an interesting one. The Cardinals are going to ask Santa to sabotage Activision and make it so Call of Duty doesn't come out anymore. I know it's a big meme at this point, but you can't help but notice that after every Call of Duty, Kyler Murray falls apart. Kyler Murray has some absolutely terrible games under his belt, and he comes out in September and balls out, and everybody's like, oh, Kyler Murray's pretty good, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the year, he peters out, and they don't make the playoffs. They've only ever went to one playoff game with Kyler. They're just in a really bad spot with Kyler. He's not good enough to get anything done, but he's not really bad enough they want to ship him off. He looked really bad against the Panthers. I'm like, oh, I think Bryce Young's better than Kyler Murray. I'm being serious. I'm like, I think Bryce Young's better than him. It's pretty exciting. Bryce Young's better than Kyler Murray, but I was like, that's insane. What do the Bears want for Christmas? Bears, they wrote on their wish list, they want any sort of good coach. Literally anyone. Who knows who that'll be? I don't know. Obviously, there was talks last year of the Texans offensive coordinator being a hot pick. I don't know if that'll be a thing this offseason. We'll see. The big ones are obviously both the Lions OC and DC. Maybe Brian Flores. I don't know if Brian Flores would be willing to hop around the division like that, going from Vikings to Bears, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Whoever the Bears get, though, it's going to be a big deal. I would like for the Bears to be good. I like the fact they changed their logo back to being the old school bear. I think it would be fun if the Bears were good. They're one of those teams I think it would be really fun if they were good. They're just not good. What do the Saints want for Christmas? Oh, Saints. This is a sad one. The Saints ask Santa if they can be relevant. That's rough. But, I understand it. The Saints haven't been a relevant franchise since Drew Brees retired. No one really cares about the Saints. There is no buzz about who they're going to draft. Unless you're a Saints fan, no one cares. And they're not even bad enough that everybody's like, oh, look how bad the Saints are. They're just kind of whatever. And that's a sad spot to be in. At least the Panthers, we got bad enough that everybody made fun of us. So now that we're coming up, everybody's like, oh, look, the Panthers are getting good now. Look at Bryce Young, blah, blah, blah. The Saints aren't even at the stage where they're bad enough people make fun of them. The Saints are just like, who cares bad? And that's the worst. Panthers like that for a bit, and that's the worst. What are the Niners asking for Christmas? The Niners asked Santa if he can somehow give them forgiveness from God, because they've somehow managed to have the season from hell. And I predicted this at the beginning of the year. They were having all those issues in the offseason. I will say, part of me got this from listening to Bill Simmons. He was talking about this in his pod, and I agreed, and I said it on here. I thought the Niners were just going to have a rough season. You look at them, they were a high candidate for season from hell, and it officially did happen. They just had so many problems. Brock Purdy's played the worst we've seen him play. You guys know I love Brock, but he has not been playing that well. And so they're just going to ask, what went wrong? Can we be forgiven? Can we move past this, please? What are the Cowboys asking Santa for? The Cowboys are asking Santa for a purpose. This team is just kind of in a weird spot. I don't think they're going to be very good next year. They've won some games this year. Like I said earlier, they just won't really go away. But it doesn't really matter. They're just kind of wandering. And I feel like they need a purpose as a team. They just need something to do. So they're asking Santa for a purpose. They need to somehow in this offseason find, are they going to be a bad team next year? Are they going to be a good team? They need to figure out what they're doing. About Tennessee. What are the Tennessee Titans asking Santa for? This is another one. Oh my. This one's pretty sad. My goodness. Tennessee is asking Santa for people to remember when they were good. This one is pretty funny because the other day, I forget who I was talking to. Somebody knew the NFL pretty well. And they were like, oh, who else, like, who are they playing? I was like, oh, they're playing the Titans. They're like, oh, well, no wonder they won. And I was like, just a few years ago, the Titans were pretty good. Like, the Titans were like a frisky, like, oh, yeah, I think the Titans are going to make the Super Bowl pick. Like, nobody thought they were going to win, but, like, they were kind of one of the top teams in the AFC. Vrabel was a good coach. Derrick Henry was killing it. Tannehill was, like, the fun pick to be like, I think Tannehill's good. They were a fun team just a few years ago, and now they're just gone. Like, just kind of wild. Ever since the Bengals beat them in 2021, it's just been downhill from there. I remember I picked the Bengals to beat the Titans that year, and a lot of people were like, you're crazy. I'm like, I think this Bengals team's going to be in the Super Bowl and win it. They're like, you're nuts. And then they went. And ever since then, people have been trying to put Cincinnati in the Super Bowl since. Here we are 3 years later, but this Titans team, they were good just a couple years ago, and people just completely have forgotten that and just associate them with being a perennial bottom feeder, and that's sad. So, the Browns, what are they asking Santa for Christmas? They want the Men in Black memory wipe, like the little thing that, Agent J will pull out, Will Smith will bring out and go, whoosh, gone. That's what they want to do for their fans for every year past 2020. They just want a memory wipe. They want them to forget the fact they got rid of Baker Mayfield. They want to forget the fact they paid Deshaun Watson an absurd amount of money. They just want to wipe it all and have them forget, because this Browns team, what are the Browns going to do next year? They're not going to get Shador or Cam. Are they going to reach on a different quarterback prospect? Are they going to try to get Sam Darnold? Are they going to roll out Jameis next year? I'd like for them to roll out Jameis next year, but let's be honest, you're probably not winning more than 6 to 7 games. I predicted this Browns team at the beginning of the year to win 7 games. That was generous. People were saying how crazy I was, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? I was right. Actually, I was wrong. I take that back. They're even worse than I thought they'd be. Browns, they want the Men in Black memory wipe. The Jets, what are they asking Christmas for? What are they asking Christmas for? What are they asking Santa for Christmas? They're asking for Garrett Wilson to stay. Underrated part of the NFL season. Garrett Wilson is most likely going to leave the Jets. It would be sweet if he came to my Panthers. Oh, my goodness. But who knows where he's going to go. Moral of the story is he's probably going to leave the Jets, and they really would not like that because they have an incredible wide receiver in him, and he's probably going to bounce. The Giants, what are they asking Santa for? The number 1 pick. This is, on paper, one of the worst Giants teams of all time. They have never had the number... Sorry. Was it they never had the number 1 pick? I saw some graphic that said like the Giants had never had something. I don't know if it was the number 1 pick or they had never been had no wins in the NFC East or something. But there was something bad that like the Giants had never done that they're about to do. I think maybe they had the number 1 pick in like 1968. Like, it's been a long time since the Giants were this bad. This is some of the worst the Giants have ever been. And so they just want to make sure they get the number 1 pick, they get their guy. Because I do think if they get a franchise quarterback, they could be a really fun team next year. They could kind of be like the commies of next year. I hope they don't get rid of Daboll. I think Daboll's actually pretty good. I think they could be the commies next year. The NFC East is just kind of becoming a fun division. Because I don't really like the Eagles, and I don't really mess with them, but they're going to be good. And I will say, I do like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith has always been fun to me. And A.J. Brown is, just, when you watch it, you're like, that dude is a tank. Like, that dude is huge. And you think about the fact that him and DK Metcalf were at Ole Miss together, you're like, they just had 2 of the scariest wide receivers of the last 10 years in the same team. Like, he's so huge. Like, he is so big. And DK Metcalf was the same way. I say was. He still is. They're just, like, they're built like linebackers, but they play wide receiver. Oh, man. Yeah, those guys are nuts. But A.J. Brown's fun to watch. But I don't really mess with the Eagles that much. You guys know that. But I must admit, they're going to be good for a decent amount of time. Still don't think Sirianni should be their coach, but whatever. And then, the commies will hopefully get better next year. We'll see how much sophomore slump Jaden Daniels goes through. Giants could be fun next year. Cowboys, I already said, they need a purpose. Let's get into picks. Christmas Day picks, 1 p.m. We got Steelers versus Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I'm being hopeful for Pittsburgh. We'll see if they can live up to it. If they lose this, I will not take them to win a playoff game. If they win this, I believe they can. 4:30, we got Ravens versus Texans. This is sad. I got to take the Ravens, though. The Texans are just kind of – that was really upsetting, watching how upset CJ got. That was really sad. So, Ravens are going to win. Yep. All right. I don't know. I just feel bad for CJ. That's sad. Primetime picks, Thursday Night Football. We got Seahawks versus Bears. It'd be really fun if the Bears won this, but the Seahawks will win. Saturday Night Football, we have Rams versus Cardinals. I'm going to take the Rams. If the Panthers, I think the NFL thought the Panthers were going to lose to the Cardinals, and then this would be like, if the Rams win, the Cardinals are out of the playoffs. They're division rivals, blah, blah. And the Panthers just ended their season in overtime. It's awesome. Chuba Hubbard danced into the end zone to end the Cardinals season. I'm taking the Rams beat the Cardinals here. Sunday Night Football, Commies versus Falcons. You guys know I'm high on the Rams. Commies versus Falcons. I'm taking the Commies, getting a big feel-good win over the Falcons. This will be the first Michael Penix Jr. game I watch. I didn't watch Penix the other day, so this will be fun to watch him on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football, Lions versus Niners. December 30th game. Taking the Lions. I think at the beginning of the year, they thought they cooked with this matchup. Not a very good game. It's been a while since I watched the Niners. I haven't watched the Niners probably a month and a half. A team that I used to watch all the time, and I used to prop up Kyle Shanahan all the time. I don't think Shanahan's bad. Don't get me wrong. Shanahan's still one of the top coaches in the NFL. But I think Dan Campbell is even better. Oh, yeah. I'm saying it. Dan Campbell getting a big win over the Niners. Monday Night Football win for the Lions. I also should probably say I don't know if I really think Dan Campbell's better than Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's having a rough go right now. Shanahan is a genius, but Dan Campbell's been better this year, I should say. If you said right now who you're hiring, you got to say Dan Campbell, but Dan Campbell might have the highest approval rating of any coach right now in the NFL. So, for all time, though, I'm probably going to take Shanahan. Shanahan is eventually going to get it done. Like, Shanahan's eventually going to have an incredibly good team, and it's going to be nuts. Just a matter of time. Marquee matchups. Saturday has a really good one because we're going to do – I'm counting Saturday and Sunday for the marquee matchups because there's a decent amount of Saturday games. But Saturday is a good game. We got 4:30 Bengals-Broncos in Cincinnati. Taking the well, I don't know if it really matters, but I think the Bengals are going to win this. This is really interesting. If the Bengals lose, they're out of the playoffs. If the Bengals win, they keep their hopes alive and then have to root for the Broncos to lose next week. So that's really fun. 1 p.m. on Sunday, we have Cowboys visiting Philadelphia. This shouldn't be as much of a game as I think it's going to be. I'm willing to bet the Eagles still win this, but it'll be fun regardless. 4 p.m., Packers travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Oh, this is a good one. NFC North matchup. Packers looking to make sure the Vikings are a wild card team and not the division winner. Vikings looking to hold on for an epic matchup against the Lions the following week. I actually really hope the Vikings win, so we just get the 14-2 versus the 14-2 with the Lions, because I don't think the Lions are going to lose this week. I really don't. The Lions they're going to beat the Niners, but this is going to be a good game. Vikings-Packers, 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then you roll right into Sunday Night Football, watch Jaden Daniels versus Michael Penix. Oh, yeah, be gas. It's a great slate of NFL football this week. So that's it from me for NFL. Let's do a quick 5 minutes on Christopher Nolan's next film. There were talks it was going to be a vampire movie. There was talks it was going to be a remake of Blue Thunder. It is an adaptation of The Odyssey. Oh, my goodness. A great Christmas gift to me. My mother is an English teacher. I read The Odyssey in freshman English. It wasn't Mom that taught me it. It was the other English teacher at my high school, because there was only two. Went to a very small high school. But exciting regardless. I'm very, very excited for The Odyssey. I thought Nolan was going to go smaller. So after Tenet, I kind of wanted him to make something smaller, something more of like a drama, and he did that with Oppenheimer. And I thought Oppenheimer was his masterpiece. Oppenheimer is going to be his definitive film. Best Picture winner. Killian won the Oscar. Robert Downey Jr. won the Oscar. It was his thing, right? Did he win Best Director? He won Best Director, right? Whoa. I gotta think about this. Best Director Oscar. Let's check this. Did he win? Did he win it last year? Yes, he won. Okay. I was like, he won the Oscar, right? So it was kind of, I thought Oppenheimer would kind of be his masterpiece. And I figured he was going to do something kind of different from, like, I thought, okay, Blue Thunder makes sense. He can go more back to like a more action-y crime movie. Like, he's done one of those since the Dark Knight trilogy. And the vampire film, something else very different. He's always talked about making a horror film. I did not expect him to say he was going to do an old school classic Hollywood grand epic sword and shield movie. But that's what he's doing with the Odyssey. And I mean, one of the blankest checks in American history for him right now. Like, he could make any movie he wants. He's got an insane cast. We've already talked about the cast before. Tom Holland, Matt Damon, Lupita Nyong'o, Charlize Theron, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson. My goodness. He basically gets to do whatever he wants. And he's using all that clout to make an even grander movie than a 3-hour biopic drama about who he believes is the most important person in most important American history, or most important person in our modern times, or most important person of the last 100 years. It was something like that. He basically said he believes Oppenheimer is incredibly important to like where we're at now in life. I think he might have said was the most important man in American history. I'm not sure exactly what Nolan said, but he basically placed a lot of emphasis on what he thought J. Robert Oppenheimer's legacy was. And the fact that he's now making a film that's even grander in scope is incredible. Like, he's literally stepping up his game. I texted my buddy RJ, who's a big Nolan fan like me, and I said, no way he literally, to step up, the movie after his, what I believe is going to be his masterpiece, he is going to try to make an even bigger, grander film. Like, this might be his masterpiece, which is insane because he already won all the Oscars. Has it ever happened to I don't think it's ever happened to director back-to-back Best Picture winners. I don't think a director has ever made a film that was Best Picture and then turned around and made another Best Picture winner. 2026 is going to be stacked with great movies. Dune Messiah comes out then, the third Dune movie from Denis Villeneuve. That's going to be incredible. Batman Part 2 comes out then. The Supergirl movie comes out then. The Odyssey is going to come out there. Shrek 5 is going to come out then. Like, I mean, these are some good movies. Not good movie, but exciting movies. That's when the next Spielberg film comes out. He's making a new UFO film, so that's really exciting. Spielberg getting back in the director's chair, one of the greatest directors of all time. Probably the director that I'd say is most close to Nolan. Yeah, I'd say so. But I'm trying to look online. There was a list of like all the upcoming films from 2026. Because like 2026 just has an insane. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find it now. Anyways, there's other big movies coming out that year. It's just very exciting. Next year looks like it'll be a great year for film. The Superman movie, but along with many others from next year, obviously. But Superman is like the one for me, obviously. The fact that Nolan has the power to make literally everyone go, holy shit, that sounds amazing, is cool. And the fact that, he could have just said, I'm making a wholly original film. It's going to be a spy movie. Everybody would have been like, sweet, cool, we're excited. And it would have been really good, and it would have made at least $300-400 million just off the fact it's Christopher Nolan alone. But the fact that he is stepping up and doing the Odyssey, which has never really had a definitive adaptation, like the one, is insane to me. Just like some of the ballsiest shit of all time. And if it's good, I think we're in for like a Lord of the Rings level hit, where it is like a cinematic classic instantly. Everyone agrees, and it makes an insane amount of money. Like, can you make $1 billion off the Odyssey? Maybe. He's also not like, he doesn't hate CGI. He uses it when he can, but he's very big on practical, which I really enjoy about Christopher Nolan. And the fact that he's going to find ways to make the Odyssey with the least amount of CGI possible just sounds even more incredible. Because under a different filmmaker, we're just getting a big CGI, monster and this and that. He's going to try to find ways to not do that. And that's insanely exciting to me. Another July release, July 17th, 2026 is when it's going to come out. Just super duper exciting. And I believe we are living through one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I was a big Nolan fan for years when I was younger. He was my favorite director. Then I discovered Tarantino, and Tarantino kind of became the top. And Tarantino is the top. I'd say the top three are like Tarantino, Nolan. Is Spielberg still in the top three? I think he has to be. Genuinely, like a majority of the reason Spielberg is still top three for me is because he made Indiana Jones. Like, he has 3 Indiana Jones films that are just absolutely perfect. So that is a big part of Spielberg's filmography for me. I need to go through a Spielberg run and watch a lot of his films I haven't seen. Like, I've never seen The Terminal. I've never even seen Saving Private Ryan. I know. Spielberg fan that hasn't seen Saving Private Ryan. I should be castrated, I know. There's an argument that third place for me is Fincher. Big Daddy David Finch. He's put out some bangers. But easily my top 2 are Tarantino and Nolan. And it is so... I mean, James Gunn's up there for me, too, at this point. You guys know I love James Gunn's movies. But it's genuinely just because of his superhero works. I've never watched a James Gunn movie that wasn't a superhero movie. I mean, I've watched Scooby-Doo, but I think he wrote that. He didn't direct that. So I do love that original Scooby-Doo film. But anyways, this is not the direction I thought Nolan would go. I love that this is the direction he's going. I think it's going to be a massive hit. And this is very different from him. And I love the fact that he is trying new things. Like, this is a complete different part of his game. Like, this is very different than what he's been doing. This is honestly more of a Tarantino move. Like, Tarantino likes to jump around genres, whereas Nolan for a while was operating in, like, I do crime and sci-fi. That's kind of my thing. Like, he made the Dark Knight trilogy. He made the very, like, crime base. Then he did Inception, which is like a sci-fi crime, heist movie. Then he did Interstellar, which is like his sci-fi movie. And then he said, hey, I got a new move in my bag. I did a war movie. And you're like, wow, Dunkirk is really good. Great job. And he's like, yeah, thank you. Now I'm back to sci-fi. Here I am with another sci-fi film with Tenet, which I like Tenet a lot. I own Tenet on Blu-ray. It's just right over here. I have it like right next to me actually right now. And you're like, cool, another sci-fi movie. We'll see what you do next. Well, then he's like, yo, I'm going to make a biopic introspective drama. And I was like, oh, well, I always wanted to see you make a smaller scale film. Let's see you do that. And then he made it the most epic thing of all time. He's like, oh, well, if I'm doing a biopic, how do I do the grandest thing imaginable? So he picked the guy who helped create the atomic bomb. Just a genius move. So now he's like, what have I never done? And he has never done a sword and shield, grand old school epic like this. And now he's doing that? Oh my gosh. And he's apparently using new IMAX technology that's never been used before. It's not a digital camera. It records on film, which is just incredible. I actually might be more excited for this than I was Oppenheimer, just because I really love big epics. You guys know that. And so this is really up my wheelhouse. Like, Oppenheimer was like, he made a movie for my mother. This one is really up my wheelhouse. And I'm super pumped for this. So, gonna have to watch Troy for the first time to prepare, because I always thought Troy looked cool. It does not surprise me that Nolan's favorite film of this year is Gladiator 2. I also think Gladiator 2 is very good, and it's gonna be in probably my top 5 favorite movies this year when we do like best movies from 2024, like that released in 2024. When we do sort of sporties in a couple episodes, like I'm being honest, I was really high on Gladiator 2. I thought it was really good. He's gonna blow that out of the water. I have full faith that it will be incredible. And now I'm just like, wow, Nolan, if you're just gonna keep bouncing genres, like when do we get the Christopher Nolan, the Western, right? I know he's British, but like, why not at this point, right? You know? Maybe after this one, they'll let him make Bond. They'll be like, you know what? You proved yourself. Go make James Bond. This might be his masterpiece. I don't think a director has ever made back-to-back Best Picture winners. He might be the one to do it. His biggest competition is probably going to be Dune Messiah, and some movie that we know nothing about. That'll be like an A24, an independent film that's going to come out in 2026. That's going to blow everybody away. We will see. It will be awesome. Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holidays. I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.